I'm getting ready to go to a friend of the show, a friend of mine, my legal eagle. His name is Damon Hewitt. He is the head of the Lawyers Committee on Civil Rights. This man is here to talk to us about what the Supreme Court did. We knew it. We talked about it. We knew it. We knew it was going to come, but it doesn't change the fact that the sting is still there. Damon, hello, my friend.
Hello, I wish it was a better day, but it's great to see you in one healthy piece after watching your before and after feeds on Saturday night.
Oh, you saw me?
I saw you. I saw you.
Child. Here's my thing, and I'm gonna wrap this up synopsis of a synopsis. They did not, how did they find out that there was only one person? Because typically that could have been a distraction, right? And there could have been somebody else out there, and they sent us out in the street. The security was so messed up, but I'm not getting there. I'm healing now, mind, body, and
Yeah,
soul, you know. But that's why I was eating my popcorn, because I'm not gonna say it's a show, but it was a trip. That's all I'm gonna
yeah,
say.
yeah.
I never want to do that again. It's traumatizing. But let's talk about the trauma of the six members of U.S. Supreme Court versus the three, what they did with Louisiana versus Calais. Black districts, that's what it's about. Redistricting in black districts.
Yeah.
Two congressional black Congress members are gonna possibly lose their seats right now, right from Louisiana, correct?
It's possible. I mean, already it looks like Governor Landry from the great state of Louisiana, my home state, has called to suspend the election that was already in progress, to redistrict once again Louisiana under the notion that the Supreme Court told us we have to, which is actually not correct.
And DeSantis land, I'm talking about Florida. DeSantis land is already looking at something. Did you see that? It could cut out four Democratic seats. I
Yeah,
mean, what does this mean? First of all, explain the case, explain in a
right.
synopsis, in layman's terms, explain the case, and then tell us what this means going
Mm.
forward.
Well, to understand this case, you have to understand the case before the case that our friends LDF litigated in Louisiana. A tremendous victory in a case called Robinson, where after the 2020 redistricting cycle, it was clear that Louisiana was diluting the voter strength of Black voters when it was clearly likely or easy rather to create a second opportunity district, majority Black district, district where Black people can elect our candidate of choice based upon the population of the state, right? And the notion is that there's really no other reason but discrimination and racism if you don't do it. And so went through a trial, went through appeals all the way up to the highest court and found that yes, Louisiana violated the voting rights of Black voters. So to correct for that, Louisiana created another district, which was a district that's now occupied by Congressman Cleo Fields. After that victory, after that victory, a group of white plaintiffs said, well, actually, that violates our rights. It violates our rights because to create that second district, you consider race. And consider the Supreme Court, you tell us we can't consider race. So therefore, you can't actually effectuate a remedy to a violation
Mm.
of Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act. Mind you, this is the same cockamamie legal theory, or the same theory that was viewed as cockamamie in a prior lawsuit, in the Alabama lawsuit, that brought us the second majority Black district in that state that's not occupied by our friend Congressman Shamari Figures. That was
Mhm.
rejected out of hand by basically the same configuration of the Supreme Court just a few years ago. But now all of a sudden it's taken hold. And so what the Supreme Court did in the Callais case yesterday, that's the collateral attack filed by white plaintiffs, is said, well, you violated state, you violated the voting rights of the rights of white voters because you consider race improperly. And you say you consider race to effectuate a remedy to a prior violation, but we don't think there was actually a prior violation anymore because we're going to create a new standard. We're going to, as the Supreme Court, rewrite Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act to
Mhm.
undo what the Congress did in 1982, which was to make clear that you could prove discrimination under the VRA Section 2 in two ways: by demonstrating racist intent or discriminatory intent, or through discriminatory effects, kind of like a disparate impact style test, right?
Ooh.
And so the Supreme Court said there's no such thing as an effects test anymore. you must prove intent to try to create this type of remedy. So this
Racism is real.
racism is real. So the Supreme Court has snatched defeat from the jaws of victory. And if we have time, I'll tell you about other times when the court has done that in voter rights cases just recently too.
Mm. Team, let's go to Dr. Amos Brown. Dr. Amos Brown is somebody who was with Dr. King, marching with King and Medgar Evers, and he is on the national board of the NAACP. Let's take a look at what he said about this U.S. Supreme Court decision yesterday.
There's trouble in the land. We are in hell, literally, in this nation.
When it comes to today's 6-3 Supreme Court decision on Louisiana versus Callais, there are some who believe it puts us back to pre-civil rights era times. I talked to Dr. Amos Brown, a man who marched with Dr. King as well as Medgar Evers. So what does this do to you? How does this make you feel that one of the pillars of the civil rights movement, voting rights, the Voting Rights Act of 1965, has now been essentially gutted?
For me, it says we have to turn to each other as African Americans, love on each other, and do what we did during Jim Crow days. We strengthened our institutions. We created institutions in order for us to survive. And basically, the Black church was the major institution. We got to get back to those days.
We got to get back to those days, Damon. What do you think about what Dr. Brown said?
Well, he's right. You know, I'm not going to say that we are complacent, but I think a lot of people are comfortable.
Mm.
I will say that public polling suggests that put aside partisanship, just look at the material condition of a people. Public polling suggests that people say, well, policies are bad, but they're not affecting me directly.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of a shrug. And that shrug leads to not speaking out. That shrug leads to staying quiet. That shrug leads to not voting, not being advocating. And so, you know, and I think that people have gotten comfortable in doing that. But, you know, this is FAFO territory, as they say. If you mess around, you may find out just how bad things can get for you. And so we have to get back to first principles. You know, I'm a litigator. I know lawyers don't lead movement, but when movement needs a lawyer, I want you to know who to call, right? But we have to get connected and be organized in terms of first principles. And it's not about people die for your right to vote. That's true. But you may die if you don't vote.
That representation matters.
That representation matters. And it's not even, sorry, go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
It's not just about White House and House of Representatives. Those are important, but it's also the fallout from the Supreme Court decision, which is basically thrown out a key part of Section 2, fully gutted it, basically. Yes. It's going to be that your ability to have fair and full representation, not just in the House of Representatives, but also the state legislature, also the school board, also the city council, or county council, all of that is at stake. Because I don't think people understand, April, the wave of redistricting that's about to happen. It's going to be an intense period in the next few years. And then after the 2030 census, it will be absolute mayhem.
I'm in Maryland, and I'm telling you guys, this election cycle season is going to be something. I was redistricted. I didn't know where I was going. I was like, wait a minute. Somebody told me, oh, you got a new district. I said, really? Guys, pay attention. And again, I want to emphasize what happened in Florida. Florida passed a gerrymandering map that, again, could net the GOP 4 seats, a power grab, meaning Democrats will lose 4 seats in Florida. Florida has been going through a lot of machinations and changes. And that could also play in the presidential election. Remember, let's go back to Gore v. Bush. See that's Gore v. Bush. Remember the Electoral College and all that, and the districts, etc. That all comes into play. It all comes into play. Florida was that state that they gave to Gore and then they pulled back. I was there. I was in Nashville, Tennessee at the time. But nonetheless, so I want to go to our chat. And our chat is popping in. Everybody, Mr. Pro Democracy says, why do we continue to accept these rulings by these MAGA self-disqualified justices? Trump won't be in the White House if it wasn't for them. I mean, what can we do? How he's right. Why do we keep accepting this? But what do we do so we can change the system or change the situation?
Well, I think we have to, number one, point out the hypocrisy and not just say, well, it's the Supreme Court decided, so we'll just follow the law. I'm not saying go break the law. What I'm saying, though, is that we need regular folks to speak out. I mean, we've been practically begging corporations to have a voice, not a partisan voice, but a voice that's pro-community. And they've been so shy about doing it. I got text messages today, people saying, put me on game, let's go. And I'll get back to these folks. I'm like, yes, let's go. We need the leveraging of all kinds of capital. There's fiscal capital or resources. There's human capital with people volunteering, but there's reputational capital.
Yeah.
If you have a platform, you have to use it. Not just if you're elected official, or if you have some lead an organization, but wherever you are, use your platform. But also just specifically to the Supreme Court. Because I think we have to discredit the ideology before you can destabilize it and undermine it. And so it's important that to destabilize more fully, we need a binding code of ethics that is fully within Congress's power to pass and adopt. And there is no binding code of ethics on the Supreme Court. They're able to act with impunity, and they don't even play by the same rules as other federal judges. That's the thing people need to say. This is not some made-up thing just for the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court is the outlier. We need to have it not be an outlier and bring it home.
So listen, I want to bring this to this point. This is racial. I don't care what you say, guys. This is racial. The Voting Rights Act of 1965 has been gutted for all intents and purposes. We are now voting without the full protections of the Voting Rights Act. It was supposed to essentially give the Justice Department, in some sections, the power to say yay or nay to some redistricting and different changes. And now that's not the case. But here's the thing. Donald Trump, think about this. Donald Trump said a few weeks ago in this New York Times interview that he said civil rights and voting rights came out. It's one of the pillars of the civil rights movement. 1965 Voting Rights Act. Selma, Alabama, Bloody Sunday. Donald Trump said the civil rights movement hurt white people. And I want to drill down. Damon, am I lying?
You ain't never lied, April. I never known you to do that.
Thank you. So listen to this. And yesterday, if you caught it, close one eye, turn the head, and you caught it. He talked about the Anglo-Saxons. Wait a minute, hold on. Remember in our history book, white Anglo-Saxon Protestants, WASPs? He talked about that yesterday. That's what he's focused on.
That's what he's focused on. Well, April,
all about... Wait a minute, David, let's play this tape from yesterday, and I'm going to come back to you. Play the tape, team.
The American patriots who pledged their lives to independence in 1776 were the heirs to this majestic inheritance. Their veins ran with Anglo-Saxon courage. Their hearts beat with an English faith in standing firm for what is right, good, and true.
What is Anglo-Saxon courage? But go on, say what you have to say. I'm like,
April, I hadn't even heard that clip until just now.
How do you feel?
I'm not going to describe the film. I'm going to give a quote, a part of a quote from Public Enemy. Straight up racist. That sucker was simple and plain. So, I don't know how much time we have. Let me just say this.
You don't have that much time.
I'm gonna give you more. We're gonna blow up the schedule if you have me. So
okay.
The day before the Callais case, the court did something else that is actually underreported because it was through a summary order. It wasn't like a long written opinion. It was the Texas redistricting case that started all the redistricting wars.
Mm-hmm.
We at the Lawyers Committee litigated that case, won the trial alongside other lawyers before a 3-judge panel. A Trump-appointed judge wrote the majority opinion and said, this looks like it to most people is political gerrymandering. It's actually racial gerrymandering, and here's why. And went on 60-plus pages to explain why. The Supreme Court, the day before Callais, said, actually, no, we're going to fully reverse the preliminary injunction that we at the Lawyers Committee and others secured, because we don't think that that's racial gerrymandering. And what happened in Texas was an intentional targeting of Black and Latino opportunity districts, because they were Black and Latino districts, to gain partisan advantage. But what the court is basically telling us in that case is, if it's Black and brown, you cannot prove racial gerrymandering. But let it be white plaintiffs who argue that a remedy to a violation of Section 2 is discriminatory. Well, of course, that's racial gerrymandering. The only way to understand that cognitive dissonance is to understand that the jurisprudence is now, April, grounded in white grievance.
White grievance.
It is exactly the same. Now, I say that as a leader of a multiracial organization with a multiracial staff and board, but I work at center in the lived experience of Black people.
Yeah.
Regardless of what our individual lived experience is. So I'm not saying white people are racist. Let's be clear.
No, we're not.
What I'm saying is there's a politics and a jurisprudence of white grievance.
Yeah.
And that's what Trump propagates, and that's what we're seeing reflected in the Supreme Court decisions. White
grievance from white nationalists and these far right-wing people who want to see us back to roots, not Jim Crow with his gerrymandering. They want to see us back to roots. And I keep saying that. But I want to go to the chat. Carrie says, hey, Damon, long time. We knew each other many moons ago at the NAACP LDF. If the Dems get the presidency, should we expand the seats on the court? Ooh!
What a great question. And I'll say, look, we for a long time hadn't really focused on the whole piece about court expansion, because obviously the clear worry is you expand the court when Biden was in office and you believe he's filling to our agenda. Then Trump takes office, and then already we have a conservative ideologue majority for the remainder of my career. So this is my mission for however long I have left, Lord willing. But what I don't want to do is to have a knee-jerk response that then locks that in for the remainder of my children's career. So I'm not saying no to court expansion, but I do think it's a conversation that must be on the table. But what else must be on the table is alternative voting methods, because Lonnie Guarnier was right when she wrote about the tyranny of the majority. When people talk about how do you lose the majority vote, but Electoral College still allows someone to take office as president, that's not the will of the people. So we need everything on the table, including court expansion, to understand how can we get closer to honoring the will of the people.
And let's be clear, as we honor the will of the people, on this call, we have people from all walks of life, and we embrace and engage with all of you. But in this moment, this Voting Rights Act deterioration or gutting, it is about people of color, and we need our allies. We are not pushing you away. We're welcoming you into the conversation, into the family circle, to have this sacred conversation. Damon's organization was born out of the civil rights movement by LBJ. So this is not something that it's just, oh, it's history. This is now. And your representation can change. I mean, what if you don't want this certain Republican? What if you don't want the Republican ideals? It's being forced down your throat now, okay? And this is all meant for 2028 and to secure more seats in the midterms for Congress to remain in the control of Republicans. So that means more unchecked Republicans. I mean, if you don't like what's happening now, from the ballrooms to the hate against the press to our troops not having enough food, but yet they can put statues in the Rose Garden, pave it over and knock down the East. Come on. We the people, Black, white, Jew, Gentile, Protestant, and Catholic, are still forming a more perfect union. We're going through growing pains. We're going through gastroenteritis, but we got the medicine, right? Right, Damon?
Is sunlight, is daylight, is truth. is calling out the hypocrisy, and is sometimes calling friends to task. Because as much as Republicans are doing what they're doing, Democrats could get it too. We've sued them before for violating Black people's voting rights, and we'll do it again because it cannot be party over people.
Yeah, party over people. That's it. And that's what it has been. At the chat, the strategy says the Supreme Court is illegitimate, exclamation point. They no longer represent the will of the people, and they haven't for decades now. It's just infuriating. Iris says, thank you, Iris. She is responding to Dr. Brown. She says, without the Black church, there wouldn't be a civil rights movement. From Facebook, hey, Facebook, thanks for joining. It says, Ken says, we have to start educating bottom to top. Let's talk to the working class who do not have time to follow these politicians. And see, that's the problem. We get into all this "thus thou art, wherefore thereas," so certain people can't understand the legalese and the founding father ease. That's why we're giving it to you in layman's terms, right, Damon? So you can understand.
That's right.
Going in the fight. And then Mary Jo says, we need to start building our own Black universe like the Panthers said we need to do. Child. And Instagram says, DJ African says, this is white nationalism, exclamation point. Exactly. Ashley says, so traumatizing. Our communities need so much love right now. Bree says, I think we need to get rid of lifetime appointments ASAP. Oh, your final thoughts, sir.
Look, something's got to change with this court. And something also has to change with our people. Complacency, comfort, that has to change. I want to remind everyone, you spoke a few minutes ago about not knowing that you have been redistricted. A lot of people won't know it. A lot of people know, especially if you haven't voted recently. And so this is what I want everyone in your audience to do. Write down or just commit to memory this number, 866-OUR-VOTE, OURVOTE, 866-OUR-VOTE. That is the nationwide nonpartisan election protection hotline. We are honored at the Lawyers Committee to lead that hotline, but to co-convene the coalition with other amazing organizations, including the NAACP and Common Cause, the State Voices, and all kinds of other groups. Because we came together after the Florida debacle. You mentioned Bush v. Gore. We came together 25 or so years ago to form this coalition to make sure that people knew where to go to get trusted advice. And when you call that hotline, or if you go online at 866ivote.org, you get connected to a real live attorney who we and our partners have recruited, trained, and deployed. We recruited thousands of attorneys a year to make this thing work and to give people the information we need, because it has never been more confusing to vote. And the last time it was this perilous to vote is when they will lynch people for trying to register and cast a ballot.
Guys, stand in line. And even if they don't have enough ballot boxes, stand in line until your vote is counted. Damon, give that number one more time.
866-OUR-VOTE. And it's also, if you call it, it's available in multiple languages, over a dozen languages. Espanol, Arabic, multiple Asian languages. No excuses, y'all. 866-OUR-VOTE.
866-OUR-VOTE. Damon, thank you. You've gone way over. I know Lacey's having a fit, but and your team is having a fit. But sir, thank you so much. I know you all had that call today too, that 11 o'clock call,
Right.
Because all the civil rights organizations are really trying to deal with this. So thank you for coming in this emergent time with this emergent issue to break it down. Always, you know, you have a seat here. Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you for your coverage and your leadership. Appreciate you.